Hi everyone. I just finished setting all the pieces on this rattle and I was going to take new pictures and I forgot I was actually going to show everybody how I put this together. I think it's kind of unique how I did it. I didn't want to, I'll pick this up and kind of explain it while I'm talking about it if I can get this from not doing what I don't want it to do. I fabricated this whole thing and there's a little bolt down here, and I'll show you that in just a second. And there's a stainless steel tube that runs from here all the way up inside, up to the very tip top of this part in here. And I did that because I wanted to make sure that structurally this thing was really strong. And I didn't want to have to worry about, you know, going back and doing something internally in this handle that I constructed to where it would cause issues when I put it all together, and then you end up with, like, you know, a long piece here that's like wonky because it's not set on something that's straight. So I built this whole thing around this stainless steel internal structure, and I actually got the shot on the inside, and as you can tell now, I actually set all the bezels. So now everything is now set in there. I hammered them all down. I think it actually turned out really nice. I'm really happy with the way this looks. This like rolled edge here looks really nice. I riveted the head down with two rivets that are kind of hidden. They're riveted to this back domed part. And then this one, I was going to put a spacer in there, but I ended up not needing it because I put it in there, and when I hammered the thing down, it went down perfectly around the enamel, so I was fine. So I thought what I would do is, I can't really show you the internal part of this anymore because I've set these two pieces, but I thought it'd be kind of neat to show you how I put it all together. So there is actually a stainless steel screw up in the top, not a wood screw, like a machine screw, and it's about, I would say, 3/4 of an inch long. So it's soldered to this upper part of this textured band on the inside. Excuse me. So then it goes all the way down through a hole that's inside this little flared part and comes all the way down to the end. The only thing that's soldered to the top part of the rattle is this little flared tube, which, by the way, was the hardest piece to actually make here, because if you look at that, it had to drop down between these two pieces and touch that part, but then that part's also curved. So I had to curve the thing and then notch it out. It was kind of crazy. It took me about an hour to figure it all out, but I actually got it on there and it's soldered on there perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the bottom, which is actually kind of cool. Nobody could actually see this in the show. So let's see, it says A-R-I-E-S, Aries, this little Aries baby. And I brought my little screwdriver, which is, I just realized it's on the wrong side, so I'm going to flip it around. So all you have to do, if like, for any reason, if anything happens and they have to fix this, this is a stainless screw too that I polished and buffed it down so it's not as sharp. I threaded the tubing, the stainless tube that's on the inside, I threaded it, I tapped and dyed it, well, I tapped it on both sides to do this. So this comes off, probably all going to start falling apart when I do this. So this little screw comes off, and then now you can see, if it'll focus, come on. There we go. So that's the stainless tube. It's probably not going to be very pretty. I didn't polish it, but I actually went internally and tapped it to match that stainless screw that I was using. Then the red comes off. The handle itself was made as one giant piece. I'll show you how I did it here in just a second. This was actually constructed, I'll show you this real quick. This was actually constructed in one long tapered pencil. It was actually a little bit longer than this. And I knew that I was going to put a little red spacer in the middle, so I actually figured out what part of the handle I wanted to use, and I cut out a section knowing that I was going to solder these little washers on. So basically, that hole is the size of the thing. So when these go on that stainless rod, they're like tight, okay? So those are the two pieces. I'll set them in the back. And they're tapered because one's a little bit bigger than the one. And so then the last piece is this red thing. And if you look at this, let's see if it focuses. It goes down inside that part. And if I'm careful, I'm going to set it on its side to make all the shot go down into the here so it doesn't come out the hole. I should be able to, I've tightened this quite a bit, but I should be able to unscrew it. It's unscrewing. Let's see what happens. Question is, can I get it back in there and tighten it back up? I should be able to. And then it should just come out. So theoretically, see, set this down. It may not want to focus. It's so close to the camera. There, so you can see the other end. The reason it's burnt on the end is I had to actually put the threaded screw in here, feed it up inside this drum when it was hollow, and I had to leave this in here while I was soldering the top part in place because I wanted to make sure that it was perfectly straight in alignment with this hole. So now, theoretically, if they ever have to get in there and add more shot or take the shot out and fix anything, they can get down through that hole, which is fairly large, and then they can go back. It's hard to do this through the camera thing. I can stick it back up in there, and I got it perfectly. Good. That'll never happen again. Screw it back in place. It takes a second to get it all the way up in there. I needed to do this anyway because I wanted it to be really tight, right? So there's that. And then I can go back and put all the pieces back on. That one looks correct. Then this goes back on. I'm trying to do this in the camera so you can see me do this. This one, and then this one. Is that the correct direction? It's hard to tell sometimes. These are pretty tight on here too. I didn't want any slack, so that was part of the whole. And then this big one goes at the bottom. Oop, wrong direction. You can kind of tell because even the red pieces are tapered to match the kind of shape of the. I think that one I may have made a little too big, but that's okay. And then all you have to do is put this little nut back inside there. It's actually not a nut, it's a screw. See? And then you just put that on there and get that in there. If I can get it in there. Oops. This is hard to do and film at the same time. Let me see if I can do it this way. Since I'm right-handed, there we go. Don't have to really worry about this little dome until you get the screw closer to the end. Right? And then you want to get it centered. And then you can put this in here and just tighten it. And that's how the whole thing goes back together. That stupid screwdriver. So I thought I'd kind of just show that. I also figured out how to set those stones down in the eyes, which was not easy. Anyway, I'm pretty proud of this. I drew it on paper and it actually worked, and it worked the first time, and I didn't have to go back and redo anything. So I think in all, I was really happy with that. I guess while I'm showing this, I'll show you this too. I actually also made this to where they could take it apart if they needed to. So the whole thing is bolted together. So if anything happens, they can take these apart. The bolts on top that hold this plate on also go all the way through the bottom and hold the bottom onto the top. So the whole thing is like a giant ice cream sandwich, right? This is not soldered down. These are not soldered down, and the bottom's not soldered down. I learned my lesson the last time I made one of these, and the last one I made was soldered, but I thought this time I kind of wanted the more brutal look to it, so I decided not to do that. This is also bolted down. It's a little, I had a disc, and I soldered a tube on the inside of it, and then inlaid it down into the top inside it, and slid it down into place. So the cool thing about this is, if they ever want to move, this actually, when you push it down in here, is really tight, but you can also turn it and it'll come out. So the holder part that I made actually can come out. The funny, ironic thing about this is that these pieces at the top, which look like flames, were actually leftover parts from hand pieces that I made while I was in grad school for my thesis work, and I had 2 of them left. And I thought, those look perfectly, I mean, visually I thought they worked perfectly, and then I just cut another one out because I still had some metal that was the same thickness, and I just soldered them all together, and it just worked. And then this is a little piece of Paduke that I carved to look like a red flame. And then the little handle I forged, I don't know if you can see this or not, I forged that as a long piece and then bent it around and soldered it to the top. So the flared rattle thing that I said took so long, I'll show you right here, slides in there, and then it holds itself on that when it's sitting. So you can kind of see how that works. So that's all I wanted to show you. Everybody was asking how I put this together. If I have time, I'll do a little drawing of how this works, and I'll post that at the end of the video so you can see the drawing, or maybe internally in the video so you can see it while I'm talking about it. But that's kind of how I did it. I thought it worked out really well, and sounds pretty good. I used I've used different things for these rattles before, but I like the sound of bronze casting grain, so it's actually bronze on the inside. And I didn't have to worry about bronze reacting weird to silver. I've tried to put stainless steel shot into things like this, and stainless, if you get any water in there, will do this weird thing where it actually will start to rust even though it's stainless steel. And I didn't want to put carbon steel because it would just rust right away. So I put something a little harder on the inside, the bronze, thinking that it would actually kind of wear the same way as the silver. So, and, you know, yes, bronze is a little denser, so it's probably not going to wear out as fast, but it's internal. So like I said, if they don't like the way it sounds, they can take all this off, shake all the stuff out, and put whatever they want on the inside. So anyway, thanks for watching.